Hi everyone, I'm Kevin and this is HFX by Bike, a channel all about getting around Halifax by bike. In today's video, I'll spotlight the Beechville Lakeside Timberlea Trail, more commonly known as the B.L.T. The trail runs for about 13 kilometers between Lewis Lake, just east of the Tantallon area, towards the western edge of Bears Lake. As always, I'll be playing a game of +1 - 2 along the way. Every time I encounter something that makes the trip safer or more convenient, I'll add a point, and every time I encounter something that makes it less safe or less convenient, I'll take away 2 points. You can keep track of how I think the ride is going by looking at the heads-up display in the bottom right-hand corner. First up, there's a smooth connection between the B.L.T. and St. Margaret's Bay Area Trail to the west. This can be accessed by crossing St. Margaret's Bay Road. The crossing itself is pretty straightforward, with there being light traffic this far out of the city, and clear sight lines to spot traffic. There's even asphalt ramps to make it a little easier to cross. And in case you missed it, the entrances to the trail system are covered by either a bollard or a half gate, which makes them difficult to access by car. And that's great because the entire trail functions as a multi-use path. This is the longest single piece of bike infrastructure I've covered to date, and to its benefit, the B.L.T. has benches and rest areas dotted throughout, usually overlooking a lake or some other fun-to-watch attraction. The trail intersects with a handful of roads connecting to small neighborhoods, and you have to stop at each. I think these would be better as marked crossings, but I don't think they're frequent enough to be an issue, given how long the trail runs for. The B.L.T. is quite wide, and it's rare to encounter any kind of congestion outside of the occasional large group of walkers. Despite the trail extending pretty far away from the city, it's very heavily used, and so you're never very far away from running into someone in case you do actually need help. I always give a point for bridges, since it means someone went to a lot of effort to make the space accessible by walkers and cyclists. It deviates in a few places, but the B.L.T. functions as an analog for St. Margaret's Bay Road, with enough connections to that road that you can get pretty much anywhere you need to along that stretch relatively easily. Bridge. The B.L.T. is part of the province's rails-to-trail system, so it's almost perfectly flat. The trail itself isn't paved, but instead is made of packed gravel, which is a pretty good compromise between the preferences of walkers, runners, and cyclists. The tree canopy isn't quite as complete as the Shoeby Greenway, but it still gives you a lot of protection from the sun and the elements in general. Also, the trail as a whole is just really pretty to ride through. Cool artwork on the underpass. You occasionally see ATVs on the trail. They're probably not my first choice for sharing this space with, but all the ATVs I've encountered so far have been pretty responsible, so I'll just call it a wash. The road crossings gives you access to each of the neighborhoods. There aren't a lot of businesses until you get a bit closer to the city, but by the time you reach Timberlea, you're going to start to have access to things like coffee shops, restaurants, and grocery stores. The closer you get to the city, the more stops you're going to encounter for what are essentially driveways. These can get kind of annoying for how frequent they are. Any navigation hazards on the trail, like potholes or large rocks starting to stick out of the gravel, are flagged in bright paint. In general, maintenance on the trail during spring, summer, and fall is excellent, and any issues are flagged almost immediately and usually repaired pretty quickly. The trail is partially maintained in the winter, which means it's going to remain open, but snow isn't cleared. This means that access for cyclists is going to be hit or miss depending on recent weather. I don't know why just this section is paved, but it's nice. This crossing of St. Margaret's Bay Road is much busier than the earlier one, and so there's a push-button crosswalk. I will say that the drivers are really aggressive here in my experience. It's common to have them try to race you through the intersection, ignoring the signal. It's not great. Bridge. Bridge. This trail has a waterfall, and that's pretty cool. The trail has a smooth transition onto the Chain of Lakes trail just past the next intersection, and you can use the same spot to access any of the businesses around Bears Lake too. So as I'm approaching the end, I'm going to award the usual distance bonus of 1 point per kilometer of continuously being out of traffic, and that leads to 13 points. As a quick summary, the B.L.T trail is by far the longest single piece of bikeable path I've covered on the channel so far. It has almost no actual faults, with the only real limitation being that it runs through a pretty sparsely populated area, so there aren't that many attractions aside from the trail itself. That said, the B.L.T is an excellent recreational ride at any skill level, and you should definitely check it out on the next sunny day. Normally this is where I would end the video, but there's something else about the B.L.T that you need to know. It's closed. On July 21st, 2023, the Halifax area was hit with some of the most intense rainfall in over 50 years. Some of the province's trails were heavily damaged and have been closed indefinitely until repairs can be made. The B.L.T itself sustained about $50,000 in damages. You might think that these kinds of trails would be automatically funded for these kinds of emergency repairs in the same way that a washed-out road would be, but no, not really. The main funding model for these kinds of trails is actually volunteer donations, so here's how you can help. The first way is to check out and contribute to local fundraisers. They're fun and they help raise funds to bring the trails back online. If that's not your thing, you can make a one-time or recurring donation by going to the Nova Scotia Trails website, link in the description. You can make a general donation that goes towards the maintenance and repairs to the province-wide trail network, or you can specify the specific trail that you'd like to see your contribution go towards. Donations of any size help, of course. So if you're a trail user, or even just a fan of people getting around outside of a car, please consider donating. That's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.